Got a great video presentation for you today from our friends at MBS Highway. Of course, that's where I get all my information. Addressing the fears of a housing bubble or a housing market crash. Look, this is timely, it's important. If you're a buyer, this is a great information for you. This is going to be a little bit of a longer post, probably in the 5 to 10 minute range, but the data in it's going to be really helpful to understand the market dynamics. Look, if you're a real estate agent, this is going to be a video that you can send along to your customers as well. So we're going to dig in and dive in to what the market dynamics are and see if it gives us any insight as to are we in a bubble, can we expect a bubble? And look, if you look at the fundamentals of the marketplace, spoiler alert, we're just not in a housing bubble right now, and I think we've got some really good data to support that. So let's jump in and take a look at what this information is. So first and foremost, when you are in the media right now, what you're hearing is we're going to be in a recession, recession's forecasted, and it's going to cause a housing crash. Look, historically, that is just not an accurate statement, and it's not true. So let's take a look at what happens historically in recession. So let's go back to 1960. All the shaded bars are periods of recession. We're going from 1960 to 2023. That's 63 years if my math is right. There have been 9 recessions in this time period. And in all of the recessions, except for the housing bubble, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second, we see that housing prices are stable or appreciate during the recession, number one. That makes some intuitive sense. It's more detail than I want to get into on this particular video, so call me if you want information on that. But not only that, typically after recession, the housing market does very well and prices appreciate. So let's go to the one anomaly, 2008 and 2007. We're going to dive into this in pretty good detail. So first and foremost, most people say the housing bubble was preceded by the recession. That is not true. The housing bubble was in front of the recession, and was really one of the contributing factors or the contributing factor to the recession. So let's dive into this housing bubble in 2007, 2008, because that's where the media is focusing right now, and that's where people are saying is, look, we had a crash in 2008, it's going to happen again now. And you just can't make that conclusion based on what was going on. So let's take a look. The first place we want to look is at supply and demand. And so the way we look at supply is demand is how many formations. How many houses are being formation, which is going to be demand. How many people are looking to buy a home or rent an apartment. And then you have completions. How many houses are being built and how many houses are on the market. So a completion is just that. A house is built, house enters in the market. A formation happens in one of two ways. The first way is a child comes of age. They leave the house for a job, they finish school, they graduate, whatever it is, but they're out of mom and dad's house. That creates or forms a home. The other way is, sadly, is divorce. So you have a married couple, they separate, we go from one house to two, okay? So if we look in 2006, what was going on? Well, look, we had really record low housing formations against the highest housing completion in history. So we have a ton of supply for homes, but we don't have a lot of demand. And so that creates for a very volatile housing market. There were some other things going on with credit, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute here. But let's first explore, why do we not have a lot of houses being formed in 2006? Well, the median home the median age for a home buyer in 2006 is 33 years old. Well, let's go 2006 minus 33 years, and where do we get? We get to 1973. Well, what happened in 1973? It looks like for 1973 and subsequent years following, the birth rates in the United States literally fell off a cliff. Now, look, you can go ahead and figure out what happened in 1993 to cause the birth rates to decline off a cliff. I'll let you do that on your own time, but it's a statistical fact that birth rates declined substantially in the early to late 70s. Well, so there we go. We have the subsequent later years, median home age, just no formations, but we're facing this glut of completions. Well, what's going on here? From 2017 to 2023, we're having this difference. We had more houses formed and against the completions. So in 2006, we go from too much supply and not enough demand. And now in 2018, 2023, we're reversing it. We have too much demand and not enough supply of homes. So these are important market dynamics. And also, well, how is that happening? Well, let's look at the median home age again, home buyer age 33 years. We go back 33 years from 2023. That gives us 1990. And look at what's happening. We're going in this uptick, this increasing to a peak of formations, birth rates, I should say. And so that is why we have such an excess of demand and not enough supply. So that is a good trend for a stable marketplace. Let's look at vacancy rates back in 2005 through 2010. Well, we're going to talk about this a little more, but what was happening in this time is there was a ton of speculation in homes. So we have low housing formations, but the government was incenting and lenders were absolutely obliging. The credit qualifications for a mortgage are nothing like they are today. That has completely changed the Dodd-Frank legislation. You have to be a qualified borrower, and we're at the lowest foreclosure rates in history. Foreclosures are fine, but that wasn't true in the early middle 2000s because anybody could get a loan. So people were just buying homes and they were trying to rent them and get them filled and turn them into speculation and rent. Well, when you don't have enough birth, you don't have enough formations, you end up just sitting and carrying the cost of these homes. And what does that do? We got too much supply, not enough demand. People are lowering the price of their homes because they've got to sell them. Same thing was happening in vacancy rates. We had a ton of vacancy, again, because we didn't have enough formations. So if you want to look at the definition of a housing bubble, here you go. 2007, 4 million homes in supply against a declining demand. That is the definition of a housing bubble. What's going on today? Well, we have housing formations rising, and now we have 1 million homes, just over 1 million homes in inventory. So again, we're showing you that we have high demand for homes, and we just frankly don't have enough of them out there. So let's continue on. We have 1 million homes in the existing market. So that active inventory is even overstated. So the problem is quite frankly exacerbated because of those 1 million homes, just over 1 million homes, 1,080,000 homes, 466,000 of them, just shy of 50%, are under contract. So they're not really available inventory. We have 614,000 active listings in the United States right now. That's not the historical definition of a bubble. And look, if you think we're in a housing bubble and you've landed there, that's great. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise, but and I'm being serious about this. Call me. Let me know what data analytics are showing you that we're in a bubble, because it's not inventory, it's not supply and demand. That's for sure. So let's look back 2017. These are active home listings. We just had just over 1.4 million 2017. You can see it trending downward. We had probably the lowest point at the end of 2020, 2022 in home price. Listings are starting to climb back a little bit here in 2023, but you can still see in May we had 614,000 homes, active listings. It's a really low number. All right, just exploding this a little bit farther, let's look at what happened since 1942. In 1942 to 2022, home prices have increased 73 years. They've declined 7, and they've been flat once. So you can just see in 1943 through 47, and so 48 through 73, home prices went up like 43 consecutive years. So what's happening is everybody who's coming up with this idea that we're in a bubble is focusing in on this period 2007, 2008, 2009, and the market dynamics that we have today are just not the same as they were in the early mid-2000s. And you can just see it. In 2007, 4 million homes. Today we have just over 1 million homes, and of those 1 million homes, we really have 614,000 active listings. The bubble numbers just don't add up there. And the reason, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, is inventory demographics and lending standards are vastly different than they are today. Let's look current. What's going on right now? Well, we had the softening. We had a slight decline in home prices last year. That's true. Now, nowhere near the crash that was predicted. And so these are the top 5 kind of home appreciation indexes that are out there. All of them showed that we probably bottomed out in January, and all of them are showing that we are increasing in home prices. We have home price appreciation. In fact, MBS Highway is suggesting that we're going to get about 5% home appreciation this year. So these are really good numbers. And that's important. Let's look at what happened in 2012 when after home prices bottomed out. The next year, there was an 8% appreciation after the bottom, and that was against 2.4 million homes in inventory. So if we are appreciating right now, we still have less inventory. We've already discussed that. And so you can really see that we are in a good position for a strong and robust housing market. Look, thanks so much for checking out my content. I know it's a little bit longer. And I just want to say, we are in a volatile market right now. Who knows what the federal monetary policy is going to end up doing? Who knows what is going to happen in the banking services industry as the Fed probably increases rates again here in July? Those are all volatile issues. But if we're concerned about a housing bubble, what we have to understand is the core fundamental components of the housing market are very strong from a supply and demand perspective. And so hopefully that perspective, this information from MBS Highway will provide clarity of what's going on in the market. And always give me a holler, call me. I'd love to discuss this with you in greater detail. Have a great finish to the summer, great success in 2023.